Hi there. I want to thank my good friend Jamie for inspiring this video because she really loves a good tortilla. I enjoy tortillas and tacos, but she really loves them, and this inspired me to try my hand at making homemade tortillas, which taught me that yes, homemade tortillas taste far, far better than the ones you get at the store. Those tortillas are bigger than homemade ones and they're softer, but they're also more bland. Besides, homemade tortillas are really easy to make. It only takes a few ingredients, and as long as you let your dough relax so it doesn't shrink, then you can have a stack of homemade tortillas made in about an hour. You can make tortillas from flour or cornmeal, and here we're going the more familiar route in using flour. We mix in salt and baking powder and give it a good whisk to add air. And if you want a good savory traditional tortilla, you have to mix in lard with the dry ingredients. Some folks use vegetable oil or butter, but it doesn't taste the same, and this really works best with lard. Mix it all together and it will still be mostly dry with a few large bits mixed in. We then add 3/4 of a cup of water and get our hands all sticky by mixing it together into a dough. I found out the dough shouldn't be too dry, so add more water when you need to, and it works best when it's still more wet than a usual bread dough. At this point, we cover it with a damp cloth and let it rest for 10 minutes. After this, we add a little more flour to dry the surface and make it solid enough to knead the dough. The dough can't be too dry or else it won't knead well. We want to knead it until it's good and flexible and it doesn't come apart into pieces when we knead it. We add a little flour to the work surface and give it some elbow grease, or maybe shoulder grease. It only takes a few minutes of kneading before the dough is good and solid and ready. Now we cut the dough into a dozen pieces and roll them up into balls. Place the dough balls into an airtight container and let them rest for another 10 minutes. This will let the dough relax and make it easier for them to flatten into tortillas. While the dough balls are resting, we place a cast iron skillet on the stovetop and let it heat at medium until it gets good and hot. And when it reaches 500 degrees, we're ready. Now we take a ball of dough and we roll it out until it's at least 8 to 10 inches wide. I found it works best to roll the dough until it's paper thin. That's because the gluten in the flour will cause it to shrink and thicken, so we'll still have a tortilla that's thin enough to use for tacos. And we place the tortilla onto the dry cast iron pan and let it rest for about 30 seconds. Don't oil the pan, just cook it dry. After about 30 seconds, we flip it over, and there should be just a little bit of char on this side. We only have to cook it for about a minute, and it's ready to go. We set it onto a plate and then do it again. It's best to cook the tortillas one at a time because it goes so fast. Roll out the next ball until it's paper thin, place it onto the hot pan, and flip it after 30 seconds. Then we plate it and do another. And another. And another, and another. And now we have a plate of fresh, hot, homemade tortillas. Frankly, sometimes I've eaten them just plain like this. But of course, the best part is cooking up your favorite ingredients, whether it's chicken or beef or pork or vegetables. This tortilla isn't as soft as one from the store, but the taste more than makes up for it. Add your cheese and your toppings, and you have a tortilla that's so good you certainly won't be satisfied with just one. Fortunately, we have a whole dozen tortillas to go through, unless you cheated like I did and ate one or two as soon as they were ready. Because, yes, they're that good. These may be smaller than store-bought tortillas, but the taste far more than makes up for it. I don't think we'll completely give up store-bought tortillas because it's still convenient and they only cost a couple of bucks. But when we want some really good tortillas for quesadillas and tacos and homemade naan bread too, then this is definitely something we'll be making time and time again. And of course, a good cast iron pan is what it takes to take something ordinary and everyday and turn it into something truly special. It took some effort, but the effort was definitely worth it. I hope you enjoyed watching this, as I certainly enjoyed making these. Thank you for watching.